beautiful, loving planet called Earth. So we're going to talk about two different topics today. I'm going to read the plot of the book I finished called Crime and Punishment by Fedor. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name. But I will spell it out if I can find it. Fyodor space last name Dostoevsky. It's Crime and Punishment. It's a Russian book, or a book made for Russian stuff. Felt like I wanted to read it because I've heard so many things about it in the past. So there's 3 parts. I'm going to read each part, the plot of each part, and then at the end of this portion, I'm going to tell you what I thought of it and if it's a good book to recommend to you guys in the end. Then the second topic we're going to talk about is the voice. And this being the last week of the knockouts, 2 of the singers that I have on my team on the voice app have already moved to the live shows, which are Nini Iris and Mara Justine. The one that I have that hasn't made it yet, which probably we'll find out tonight, is the girl from Roseville, Kristen Brown. Now, so let's get into this. Part 1 of Crime and Punishment. Rodion Romanovich Raskolnikov, a former law student, lives in extreme poverty in a tiny rented room in St. Petersburg. Isolated and antisocial, he has abandoned all attempts to support himself and is brooding obsessively on a scheme that he has devised to murder and rob an elderly pawnbroker on the pretext of pawning a watch. He visits her apartment but remains unable to commit himself. Later in a tavern, he makes the acquaintance of Semyon Zakharovich. I'm probably going to butcher that, so I'm going to spell out these names. Zakharovich, Marmeladov, a drunkard who recently squandered his family's little wealth. Marveladov tells him about his teenage daughter, Sonia, who has become a prostitute in order to support the family. The next day, Raskolnikov receives a letter from his mother in which she describes the problems of his sister, Dunya, who has been working as a governess with her ill-intentioned employer, SVIDRIGAILV, to escape her vulnerable position with hopes of helping her brother Dunya, who has chosen to marry wealthy suitor Luzhin, whom they are coming to meet in Petersburg. Details in the letter suggest that Luzhin is a conceited opportunist who is seeking to take advantage of Dunyan's situation. Raskolnikov is enraged at the sister's sacrifice, feeling it is the same as what Sonia felt compelled to do. Painful, aware of his own poverty and impotence, his thoughts return to his idea. A further series of internal and external events seem to conspire to compel him toward the resolution to impact it. In this state of extreme nervous tension, Raskolnikov steals an axe and makes his way once more to the old woman's apartment. He gains access by pretending he has something to pawn, and then attacks her with the axe, killing her. He also kills her half-sister Elizaveta, who happens to stumble upon the scene of the crime. Shaken by his action, he steals only a handful of items and a small purse, leaving much of the pawnbroker's wealth untouched. Due to sheer good fortune, he managed to escape the building and return to his room undetected. Part 2. In a feverish and semi-delirious state, Raskolnikov conceals the stolen items and falls asleep exhausted. He's greatly alarmed the next morning when he gets summoned to the police station, but it turns out to be in relation to a debt notice from his landlady. When the officers of the borough begin talking about the murder, Raskolnikov faints. He quickly recovers, but he can see from their face that he has aroused suspicion. Fearing a search, he hides the stolen items under a large rock in an empty yard, noticing in humiliation that he hasn't even checked how much money is in the purse. Without knowing why, he visits his old university friend Razumikhin, who observes that Raskolnikov seems to be seriously ill. Finally, he returns to his room where he succumbs to his illness and falls into a prolonged delirium. When he emerges several days later, he finds that Razumikhin has tracked him down and has been nursing him. Still feverish, Raskolnikov listens nervously to a conversation between Razumikhin and the doctor about the status of the police investigation of the murders. A MUZHIK called MIKOLKA, who has been working in the neighboring flat at the time, has been detained, and the old woman's clients are being interviewed. They are interrupted by the arrival of LUZHIN, Dunya's fiancé, who wishes to introduce himself, but Raskolnikov deliberately insults him and kicks him out. He angrily tells the others to leave as well, and then sneaks out himself. He looks for news about the murder and seems almost to want to draw attention to his own part in it. He encounters the police official ZAMYOTOV, who is present when he fainted in the burrow, and openly mocks the young man's unspoken suspicions. He returns to the scene of the crime and relives the sensations he experienced at the time. He angers the workmen and caretakers by asking casual questions about the murder, even suggesting that they accompany him to the police station to discuss it. As he contemplates whether or not to confess, he sees Marmeladov, who has been struck mortally by a carriage. He rushes to help and succeeds in conveying the stricken man back to his family's apartment, calling out to Sonia to forgive him. Marmeladov dies in his daughter's arms. Raskolnikov gives his last 25 rubles from money sent to him by his mother to Marmeladov's consumptive widow, Ivanovna, saying it is the repayment of a debt to his friend. Feeling renewed, Raskolnikov calls on Razumikhin, and they go back together to Raskolnikov's building. Upon entering the room, Raskolnikov is deeply shocked to see his mother and sister sitting on the sofa. They are just arrived in Petersburg and are ecstatic to see him. But Raskolnikov is unable to speak and collapses in a faint. Part 3. Razumikhin tends to Raskolnikov and manages to convince the distressed mother and sister to return to their apartment. He goes with them despite being drunk and rather overwhelmed by Dunya's beauty. And when they return the next morning, Raskolnikov has improved physically, but it becomes apparent that he's still mentally distracted and merely forced himself to endure the meeting. He demands that Dunya break with Lutin, but Dunya fiercely defends her motives for the marriage. Mrs. Raskolnikova has received a note from Lutin demanding that her son not be present at any future meetings between them. He also informs her that he witnessed her son give the 25 rubles to an unmarried woman of immoral behavior, Sonia. Dunya has decided that a meeting at which both Lutin and her brother are present must take place, and Raskolnikov agrees to attend that evening along with Razumikhin to Raskolnikov's surprise. Sonia suddenly appears at his door timidly. She explains that he left his address with them last night and that she has come to invite him to attend her father's funeral. As she leaves, Raskolnikov asks for her dress and tells her that he will visit her soon. As Raskolnikov's behest, Razumikhin takes him to see the detective Porfiry Petrovich, who is investigating the murders. Raskolnikov immediately senses that Porfiry knows that he is the murderer. Porfiry, who has been discussing the case with Zamyotov, adopts an ironic tone during the conversation. He expresses extreme curiosity about an article that Raskolnikov wrote, Nikov, about some months ago called On Crime, in which he suggests that certain rare individuals, the benefactors and geniuses of mankind, have a right to step across legal or moral boundaries if those boundaries are an obstruction to the success of their idea. Raskolnikov defends himself skillfully, but he is alarmed and angered by Porfiry's insinuating tone. An appointment is made for an interview the following morning at the police bureau. Leaving Razumikhin and his mother and sister, Raskolnikov returns to his own building. He is surprised to find an old artisan whom he does not know making inquiries about him. Raskolnikov tries to find out what he wants, but the artisan says only one word, murderer, and walks off. Petrified, Raskolnikov returns to his room, falls into thought, and then sleep. He wakens to an errant nightmare about the murder of an old woman to find another complete stranger present, this time a man of aristocratic appearance. The man politely introduces himself as Arkady, Arkady, Ivanovich, Svidrigailov. Part 4. This is going to be a long. There's too many more parts. There's six parts and then the epilogue. I'm not going to go into any more of it, but from those 3 parts, it's a lot to take in. Is he a murderer? Is he not a murderer? He confessed to the murders in part 6, and spending 8 years in jail or prison or whatever it's called, and just a bunch of stuff happens between part 3 and part 6. His sister gets married. They find out he tells the whole truth because his sister wants him to tell the truth and to go to prison, basically. And, his mom dies. Raskolnikov. His mom dies at the end in part 6. It's just a bunch of information to take in. And I thought it's a very good book. I recommend you read it if you haven't read it already. I mean, a lot of people have probably already read it and enjoyed it or didn't like it, but it's kind of, he's broke and he needs money, so he decides he's going to kill this pawnbroker, kills her and her half-sister, and gets away for so long, and then finally comes clean and confesses his crime, and then gets sent to jail or prison. His sister sends him letters telling him about her getting married and her mom passing away, or not letters, but going to visit him in the jail and all that fun stuff. So that being said, my grade for this book is like a B-, C+. I've read better books, but I've also read worse books. And then this leads me to The Voice, which happens tonight. It's the final night of knockouts, or maybe tomorrow's night's the final night of knockouts. And there's going to be so many more that get eliminated and go home tonight and tomorrow, because we're moving on to the live shows next, which will probably be next week, most likely. And who knows what's going to happen next. So, thought I'd just tell you a little bit about this book that I finished reading, tell you a little bit about The Voice and what's going to happen tonight. Hopefully Kristen Brown moves on to the live shows. And we'll see what happens with Nene and Mara next week. Nene and Mara are both on Team Niall, and Kristen's on Team Gwen or Team Reba. One of those two teams. I can't remember which one it is now, but yeah. So we got a couple birthdays to wish, so let's just dive into that. I want to wish Joe Beretta happy birthday, and I would also like to wish, who else is birthday today? Stella Hudgens a happy birthday. And everyone has a true love story that exists out there in the world. For me, she's part of the celebrity world, whether that's the music world, the acting world, the modeling world, the athlete world, the what else am I forgetting? The YouTube world or social media world. The only ones I will not go anywhere near are the strippers, porn stars, or bodybuilders. Those are the only ones in that celebrity realm, if you call it that I will not go anywhere near. With that being said, I will see you tomorrow with a brand new vlog, and bye-bye.